Well, they blew up all the chickens in Bonanza last night. Now they burned down the jobs board too. Down at the showdown, they're getting ready for a fight. Gonna see what them merchant boys can do. Now there's trouble busting in from CBS, and Jonathan Karsh can't get no relief. Gonna be a rumble by the microwave, and the town council's hanging on by the skin of their teeth. Well, now everyone cries, baby, that's a fact. But everyone that cries chugs their root beer back. Put your gold star on, get your bandana pretty, and meet me at Kid Nation in Bonanza City.
Hi, I'm Laurel. I am 25 years old. I am living in Hoboken, New Jersey. I graduated from Pace University a few years ago. I got my degree in communications and political science. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, I was laid off from my job in software sales. But other than that, I have been acting constantly. I've been performing, singing, doing stand-up shows, all sorts of, acting things around New York City, which has been really great.
Cool. Well, software and stand-up, I mean, the best of both worlds right there.
Yeah, I want to kill myself from 9 to 5, and then I get to have fun at
night. So we were super interested in kind of like the casting process of Kid Nation. I know it was different for everybody, but how did it go down for you? I mean, you were 12, right?
I was 12, right. I was in 6th grade. I had just turned 12 years old. And basically, I grew up acting, performing, singing. I was really piss poor at sports, and wasn't, so that was kind of like my outlet. I was always more of a creative person, more of an artistic person. And when I was about 10 years old, I dragged my brother to this audition, in Boston for this show on PBS called Fetch with Rough Ruffman. I don't know, it's like a kid's show.
Sounds really cute.
Yeah, it's really cute. I just wanted to be on it so bad, and my brother was waiting in the waiting room, pretty much making fun of me and saying, "Come on, I want to leave. And the producers ended up being like, "We like this kid," and they picked my brother, who wasn't even auditioning.
Oh,
classic Hollywood story.
Hollywood story, and I was really sad. But I forced myself into 3 episodes at 10 years old, so I'm proud of myself for that.
Already negotiating the deals,
Oh, yeah. They were like, "Oh, a sibling? I'll be right there." And basically after that, my mom had become really, really close friends with one of the producers on Fetch with Rough Ruffman, and they really got along. They were both from the same area. And then she ended up working on Kid Nation. So about 2 years later, she called me, and I was one of the last kids actually to audition and be picked.
Whoa.
Because she was like, "Hey, we're looking for someone from New England. We don't have anybody from Boston for this show. Do you want to just come in and audition? I knew Laurel used to be interested in these types of things. Do you just want to come in for an interview?" And again, I was like, absolutely. So I wasn't really taking it super seriously, which I think worked in my advantage because I was really candid as a 12-year-old in my interview. But I ended up going there. That was just basically a getting to know you type of interview process. Probably typical to most reality shows.
Did they was this a local casting, or did you go to LA to meet someone?
I ended up going to LA. So the first cast, they did castings in your hometown. And then they flew a bunch of us out to LA. I think 60 or 70 of us.
Oh my God.
We're all in one hotel in Los Angeles.
Oh, at the same time? Of course they would do it at the same time. They're going to save money and do one callback and one.
Absolutely, yeah. And we weren't allowed to speak to each other, but we all knew what we were all there for. So it was a little bit awkward. And then after that, I got the call. So this whole process started on right near my 12th birthday, which is in January. And then filming started April 1st.
Oh, wait. Wow. So how long did filming last?
Exactly 40 days.
Exactly 40 days. So April through May.
May 10th was our last day of filming.
Because the weather was such a prominent part, at least of like the first 4 or 5 episodes, like the tornadoes and everything. So we were like, when are they filming this?
We were in the New Mexican desert, and what I learned real quick is the desert weather and climate is extremely unpredictable. I know you guys are in LA, which is kind of desert.
Kind of, but we get that ocean breeze, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But not 2 hours away is like,
legit desert, yeah.
with windstorms and like dust and all that kind of stuff.
Dust storms are no joke. They're really no joke. And it would be, 25 degrees in the morning and then 90 degrees by noon. So it was really, in just that time of year, I think, the spring going into summer, it was kind of crazy, and there was a lot of sketchy, awful weather instances. We had a snowstorm in the middle of April, so.
Right.
Yeah, did you guys ever feel like you were in serious danger? Like not knowing, like, is production taking care of us this year?
Well, I mean, as people who work in casting, I'm sure you understand, one of the main questions I get is, were there really no adults there?
Yeah.
Like, well, who do you think held the camera? You know what I mean? Like... So we were surrounded by about 200 plus adults at all times, between camera people, sound people, producers, and then they also had doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, animal wranglers, nutritionists on site as well. So no, I never really felt unsafe. It was really just any sort of summer camp that was filmed is the way I can describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Had you gone to like a summer camp before?
Oh, God, no. No, I was city girl through and through. Even at 12 years old, like, loved lip gloss and my hair straightener, my Ugg boots, and, this was a real wake-up call for me.
That's interesting to hear there's a nutritionist, only because I think, and we might hop around a little bit because there's so much to cover, obviously. But I think, like, all, like, the mushy pasta and, like, hand potatoes and not having toothbrushes being the prize. There were some things as we were watching it back, because I watched it when it came out on air. I watched it again maybe like a few years later, like drunk in college, and then rewatched it for the podcast. And I was like, how is toothbrushes a reward? That seems like something that should be didn't pioneers have toothbrush? I don't know.
I don't know if they did. I feel like it was like it was like beaver tail on a wooden brush or something.
Oh, we were putting baking soda on our hands to get the feeling of cleanliness. Yeah, that was the one thing that was a little iffy for me. We really did go 14 days without toothbrushes.
That is.
Oh my God.
But other than that, we got fed constantly. It's CBS. There's craft tables. There's we got lunch, a catered lunch every single day. We got a catered dinner every 2 days.
Oh, okay. So you guys were eating pretty good.
Yeah, it's CBS.
Yeah.
Well, we work for some networks that could be a little penny pinching. So.
And it's true. And there's I can see that there might be some producers like, let's be true to form, but then also there's child labor laws. So I'm sure getting fed, but that's
broke those. Those for sure.
The good old days of the early aughts.
Yeah, child labor laws were only invented in 2014. A lot of people don't know this.
Is that true?
No. Well, I think reality TV they just did it until they could they couldn't do it anymore, right? Like, I think a lot of shows that took people's mental health or physical health more at risk was like free game from basically like 2003 to 2011. I would say those were like the safe years of like doing whatever the fuck you want.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, there were definitely some instances where I was like, you know what, I probably shouldn't be in this type of situation as a 12-year-old, especially when the rattlesnake came into town. That was probably the scariest part.
Oh,
What
I don't
happened?
think they showed that, no.
No. They had to call the animal wrangler. He was just slithering through town and terrifying everybody. And, I saw it. It was very scary.
Did you have to deal with like scorpions or like any other type of wildlife?
There were coyotes, there were cows, bulls, obviously goats and chickens, all types of snakes and bugs. We were roughing it in the desert.
A rattlesnake is no joke, though. Like, that's like, I'd be so scared that'd be in my sleeping bag or something.
Oh, we were kids. We didn't think like, you know what I mean? We were happy away from our parents. Yeah. You know, like we weren't.
Yeah, this is adult brain now, right? Like,
adult me looking back watching it could never do it. Ever, 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 ever. 12-year-old me had a blast.
This is still part of like maybe like the casting process, but on the first episode, you're instantly also all-star kid. You were on the show, must say. And fave. Great council leader. The whole Michael, we'll get into the Michael, but how it seems like the first episode, the council was predetermined, when we arrived in the nation. So how did that go down? Were you privy that you were going to be council, or what was the deal there?
They called me, Mike, Taylor, and Anjay. Again, filming started April 1st. They probably called us March 24th.
Okay.
And said, we're actually going to fly you guys out 4 days early because you are the council leaders. And I said, what's that? And they said, you'll see. And that was all I had.
Oh.
That was all I had. So, yeah, I did know a few days beforehand, but I had no idea what that entailed. I had no idea what that meant. I didn't know if there was any kind of structure. They just said, you four are going to be the leaders, and that was all we got. And we were actually, again, in the same hotel room for those 4 days, and again, could not talk to each other, even though we knew who we all were, which was very strange.
When they named you town leader, were you a little, scared and apprehensive, or were you like, oh, wow, they really think I'm the best kid? This is great.
I don't really remember, to be perfectly honest. I was used to being in leadership positions. I had always been in them growing up and in school, and it was probably bossiness, to be perfectly honest, but it got me somewhere, and I didn't give it much thought, to be honest. I just said, you know what, well, let's throw caution to the wind and see what happens. That was kind of my mindset.
Yeah, I mean, and your purity and, just pure 12-year-oldness definitely comes off in the show, just kind of, saying what is, yeah, this kid's doing that, and we're doing this, and here we are. Did they do those, confessional interviews with every kid? Because obviously on the show, they only pinpointed, I don't even think we met, the other half of the kids, really.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. No, they really only, for the confessionals, would only ask the people who were going to be prominent in the episode, pretty much. I remember I would go to confessionals probably every day or every 2 days, and then there were other kids who never went, ever.
Oh, so they knew right away. They didn't, film everybody and then story produce.
No,
they knew
there
they were...
that never... If you weren't super controversial, or if you weren't a leader, if you were just a really nice person, that's really not good TV, so they didn't.
True. Who was your, I know we saw obviously the green team was a force that could not be separated, which was again then controversial.
Very controversial.
Were you truly close with the green team, or were there other kids in town that were more your BFF?
The green team was definitely, for the most part, my best friends. Sophia, Morgan, Kennedy, and I were really, really, really close. Michael and I were really, really close. But the other person that I was probably closest to in the town was DK. Him and I are still, he's on Chicago Fire, by the way.
Oh, we saw. I'm originally from Chicago, and when we were seeing where he was down, I was like, Chicago Fire, get it, DK. Also,
he's a phenomenal actor and singer, and he was one of my best friends.
Oh, it's so weird. I was rewatching a little bit of re-listening to our episode 1 of our podcast last night, and Stevie is like, I have a feeling that DK is an actor. This is right after we watched episode 1, so she called it.
I couldn't know if it was all the tendon issues or if it was just the...
He was always getting injured.
He's also very dramatic, so I think he liked to play us. But
carry me.
Yeah, he was best friend, wonderful person.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned you were super close with Michael. Did you feel any betrayal when he decided to run against you later?
Not really, because the first time around when we first did re-elections, he basically said to me, if this ever happens again, I'm going to run against you. So I knew that was going to happen. I wasn't surprised. It's what you want, it's what you want. So no, I don't feel betrayed at all. I think even at 12 years old, I was like, if this is what people want, if I'm the greatest person, they'll keep me on. If I'm not the greatest person, they'll vote me off. And I still have a lot of confidence and self-assurance as a 12-year-old that it's not going to kill my self-esteem,
Yeah, and you had a good run as the council leader, too. So, not every other council leader can say that. So.
Also, it meant that you were finally able to be nominated for a Gold Star.
Yes, that was also not a bad point. That was another reason why I was like, oh, Michael, go right ahead.
So we definitely have some gold star questions.
Oh,
For
yeah.
sure.
I guess my main thing is Jonathan Karsh, the lovely Jonathan Karsh, makes such a big deal about the gold star being worth its weight in gold, and always cutting to like Alex being like, "Wow, it's really heavy." So the Kid Nation is wondering, was it actually worth its weight in gold, or was there just one gold star they handed and like, all right, here's a check for $20,000?
No, you could pick if you wanted the check or if you wanted to keep the gold. It was real gold.
Oh my god! I wonder if there's any parents who are like, wait, the gold market is gonna rise up. We gotta hold on to this gold star.
Damn it, Greg's parents. He's the only one who was smart enough to keep the gold, and all of us got the checks, and Greg's family said we're going to take the gold, and they were smart enough somehow to figure that, and we didn't figure that out, and I took the check, and I should have taken the gold.
Whoa.
Oh, that's so funny.
Do we know what it went up? Is there like, I mean, we can do this outside. I'm just curious now.
I don't have the gold markets memorized.
I also love when you won the gold star, because it felt like you were always like a strong kid, even though like I think the council layout was kind of weird that you couldn't. I don't know. The story producer in me is like, ooh, the council should get the gold stars, and then it can cause a rift in the town because it's like nepotism of like the government man and all of these like large scenes. Anyways, that's the reboot. But I loved your phone call home to your mom, because I think obviously Cassidy, your mom was great. I loved like. There's some phone calls that were, like, really boring on the show, and you're like, okay, whatever, random parents. But I loved your phone call. It was, like, a beautiful Oscar-worthy, not that you were acting, but like, it was, like, emotional.
It really wasn't.
It was, like, an emotional phone call. And I'm just curious. I think I know the answer to this, but I'd love confirmation. Did they film those phone calls afterwards? Or, like, how did they know to film who was going to have the phone call?
Oh, they would film it afterwards.
Okay. That makes sense. And episode 2, we're like, wait, is this pre-pitch? And then we're like, no, they just filmed it after. Okay.
Yeah, right after the town hall meeting, we would go right to the phone and call, and they would film it right there.
Cool.
Nice.
I loved it. It was just so, like, the ma. Like, I love a good old Boston ma moment.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm from LA, so I never get to hear Boston accents. And it's just like a pure, I loved it. Ugh.
It took me so long to really kind of like calm that accent down in order to, be a reputable citizen of society. But it does really, really come out every time. My mom's still in Boston. Every time she calls me, comes right back out. But the thing was, my mom was the only one who had the most authentic phone call, because the other 36 kids, they flew out a few days after I did. So all the parents met each other. They came out with their kids, but my parents weren't allowed to come with me as like the council leader. So after Sophia had gotten the gold star, every parent had exchanged phone numbers at that point, and so they knew if they got a call from their kid, they were most likely getting $20,000.
Wow.
My no idea. So her reaction was 3,000% authentic.
Oh wow. The grapevine, the adult nation grapevine started to go, and they knew, ooh, if Mallory's calling, we're getting a big check.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, and that makes sense why some of those parent reactions were so boring now.
Right, because they knew, like, oh, if your kid's calling, this is why. Whereas my mom, she didn't know if I was hurt. She didn't know if producer called her early that morning because I was in. So what would happen is there would be 3 different kids that would be in discussion for getting the gold star, and they would fly camera crews out that morning to 3 different places, and 2 people wouldn't get a call.
Oh, see, in my mind, I thought that they were just like, getting the audio, and then months later, we're going to film the reaction shot. No, they actually truly did it. Whoa. And they flew. Man, that was some CBS early aughts money right there. Like, we're just
millions and millions of dollars. And that's why it always makes me laugh when people were like, were they feeding you? I'm like, it's CBS. Of course.
Yeah. Well, in terms of like comforts and things and not being in danger, I mean, that's good to hear. But some things that we noticed from the showdowns, though, the showdowns seemed outright
so
hard,
convoluted.
really hard,
really like just like physically exhausting. Besides maybe like the bubblegum challenge, every other one was like diving in pig shit to grab cans. Like,
oh my god! I mean, that one was super. I mean, I was just imagining like the pig shit mixed in with the mud and
And
like
the
Greg
beans.
diving face first. Just like, oh no.
Everything you can imagine. Yeah, the one thing that was good is we did only get to shower every 3 days. That is true.
That's insane.
So after every showdown, we were allowed to take a shower. Allowed.
Okay, so that is there was a timeline there. Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, the showdowns. If you were say like now, like what would you changed about them if you could? Like to us, like the time limit seemed insane and like not doable.
Right, because I think they knew if they made it too easy, it wouldn't be as interesting if we constantly won. So they had to make it really challenging. Yeah, some of them, the very first one, we were like, the one where we were pumping water throughout the pipes.
And moving those big halls
like,
around.
Freezing cold. And it was cold out that day. And there were definitely some times where our bodies were put to the limit as far as maybe what a 12-year-old should endure for the great outdoors. Definitely. But yeah, some of them were really hard. The pipe challenge where we had to put pipes through I don't know. Greg was 15 and somehow had already had 6 jobs. So he was married with kids. I don't understand. But he somehow was like, oh yeah, I was a butcher. I was a candlestick maker. and I plumbed. So he knew how to do that. But other than that, they were really, some of them were really, really, really hard. I do agree with you.
Oh, yeah, we felt bad. We were, like, watching this, like, couldn't we alleviate, like, one element of this challenge? It'd be like, okay, carry these plates on stilts, also while stilt walking, and then put it down a slide, and then wipe it off, and then put the inventions in, like, chronological order. I was like, damn, that's fucking hard.
Yeah, I feel like there was a story producer on the side being like, all right, we should add another element where we're shooting at the kids with paintball guns. They're like, no, that's like one too far. It's like, oh, sorry.
Yeah. Too much. Jonathan, calm down.
Yeah, so Jonathan Karsh, can you tell us a little bit about your interactions with him throughout the show?
He was an actor. There wasn't really much to... I wish I had more... A lot of people ask about Jonathan. He came in, wrote his lines, and left. You know, like he didn't really hang out with us or talk to us or... Super nice. I mean, no tea, no shade, but like, he wasn't, part of our everyday lives, really.
Interesting. Yeah, well, that's maybe shows that he was a pretty good actor, though, because he had that very, like, pioneers, like, and very, like, daddy vibes. Like, he kind of knew everybody it felt like he did have this watchful...
Well, he had an earpiece in his ear.
Okay. So they were like, this is what's going on.
That's EK, yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of kids, to be fair, so...
Yeah.
And he's like, Jesus, how long am I have to be in this desert with these children?
Well, he got to go to a hotel.
Oh, yeah.
At the end. We did not.
Lucky Karsh. I wanted to ask about one of your more controversial decisions, which was to not mix up the green team towards the end. That definitely brought a lot of controversy in our household. Could you tell us a little bit about the decision behind that? Like, did the producer...
No.
Did you tell the producers about that, or?
No. That was all. The one thing I will say is, like, I would say over 95% of what you saw was 100% authentic. They never knew what to say. They never told us how to say anything. The only thing they would maybe do is be like, so, how did you feel about this?
Right.
Prompt it, but other than that, no. And I, the whole time I had gone through being the council leader that never ruffled feathers and was always, the good person. And I say to people to this day about that episode, this was my NBA draft, and I wasn't giving up my team. And I didn't have to. Everything we read in the journal, we didn't have to do. And I finally said, no, I'm not doing this. I love my team. I don't want to bring anyone new in. I don't want to set anyone else out. If you hate me, go ahead. I don't care. I'm strong enough in my convictions. I'm secure enough in myself, even at 12 years old. And this is what I want to do. I had never put my foot down until that point, and I don't regret it at all. I'd do it again.
Ooh. Wow. I mean, you heard it here first, Kid Nation fan. This is some tough. I like the tough coach idea because, like, even though the green team was on a hot losing streak, it was a fun team.
We were winning, so no one was gaining or losing anything,
Yeah. Now, you guys picked it up in the latter half. You were just knocking off first place finishes.
Oh, Yeah, I don't know what happened in the beginning. I really don't. I think they were just physical challenges, and we were a bunch of artsy weirdos and couldn't really do them.
Yeah, that is true. And then I did enjoy the episode where the council had to go away, and later all the boys went to that like Native American ceremony. So then it was all like they took all the big boys, right? And they're like, okay, now it's just like the true Munchkin children, and now we'll see how it goes. Which was interesting to see. It was more interesting to see it on like an equal playing field.
I was like, Alex and Mallory, we're going to have you carry a house, and you don't have Greg.
But they did it.
Yeah, it's true. And that was a cool part.
That's the thing that I will say about the show. Yeah, we were pushed to our limits, for sure. But it really made you see, like, you're capable of so much more than you realize. As a 12-year-old, as a 25-year-old, as a 75-year-old, when your body is pushed to the limits and you have no choice but to survive, you will survive, no matter how old you are. Which was really cool to see how those instincts just, like, kicked in for us immediately. And they worked.
Oh, I love that.
When Kid Nation was airing, and the whole controversy was starting to kind of balloon, what were your thoughts on that? Were you like, this is kind of overblown, or... Yeah.
I thought everything was totally overblown. I mean, even people in casting and in TV ask, just like different questions, and I'm like, of course that didn't happen, and of course, just different things like that. Like, yeah, there was controversy. I didn't care at all what anybody had said about me, but there was definitely some slamming of my parents online, which really bothered me.
Oh, for putting you on the show.
Yes.
Got it.
Because we were so safe and we were fine and we were very well, maybe not very well taken care of, but we were, we were okay. And it was just funny the way that they would say, your parents are all stage parents and all this, whereas I had to beg my parents to let me go. Beg. They did not want me to go. They were like, this is weird. We're not going to be able to get in touch with you. So I had to beg to let me go. And yeah, there was controversy. And yeah, I did deal with a little bit of bullying. But like I said, I'm pretty ballsy. I guess. So it didn't really bother me. Say what you're going to say. I don't care. I'm $20,000 your kid.
Yes. Yes, she is, Queens. We hear that. Yeah. Wait, did your parents feel did they feel differently watching the show, or were they surprised by seeing the show? I guess, like, as a parent saying up, my kids are going to the desert to like show that they can, hang and be adults and do that sort of thing. But watching it back, or even when they came for that parent day, were they surprised at what they saw, or was that what kind of in line with what they expected?
Well, so what would happen is we each had every single bunk had a counselor, I guess you could call it. And so attached to our bunks was a person who was like educated in childcare, but was also a producer and things like that. So every couple days we were able to tell them messages, because they would call our parents every few days, every one of us, and say like, Laurel's doing okay, Michael's doing okay. They wanted me to tell you this. She wanted me to tell you this. And, so yeah, we were able to like send the messages and things like that, but overall, I think I forgot the question. I forgot what you said.
I guess like in terms of the conditions, or like the show, or what you guys were doing, like sleeping on the floor, making your own food, like rough and windstorms. Were they kind of surprised at the layout of the show, or was that like in line with what they thought what you guys were gonna do?
I think it was probably a little bit more in line with what they thought. Again, my parents are from Boston. They grew up in the projects their whole lives, so I think they were kind of like, yes, she's finally getting a taste of, what we had to go through. But no, I mean, they were a little surprised. They were impressed. But it was really just, like I say, it was like a high-end summer camp that was filmed. Any like outward bound programs that kids can go on where they sleep on the floor and build their own shelter and things like that, and they're totally fine. It just wasn't on camera.
Yeah. It is interesting to think, like, from earlier in our conversation of, like, how much of this is our adult brain processing, like, I would never want to sleep on the floor, and I would never want to wash my teeth with my finger, or, like, those adult sort of things. But when you're a kid, you're, like, a gross little weirdo, so that makes a lot more sense.
we didn't care as much about, being clean and brushing our teeth. I think we cared more about, the candy store. So it was fine.
That old candy store.
That old candy store. I'm just plugging my phone in.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I think we're pretty much rounding home because you covered a lot and we appreciate it.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
I think my last question was just about one of the most iconic moments for you, which was your Amazing Grace. Beautiful, Take Me to Church performance. So why, I guess in terms of like, that kind of came out at the council meeting, right? Where everyone's like, oh, Laurel can sing. And everyone's like, what? Really? And then you like hit it. Was that like, is there a reason you didn't showcase that in the talent show? Or why? How did that go down?
I think, this is going to sound weird. Growing up, I was always a singer, a performer, on stage. And I got bullied for it, to be perfectly honest. Middle school girls are the meanest humans on the planet.
Yep.
So I was always being told, like, she thinks she's so much better because she's on stage, and, but it always made me upset because if my talent was, say, softball, no one would be saying that. Mm-hmm. But because I enjoyed being on stage and being in front of people and entertaining and singing and acting and telling stories, all of a sudden I thought I was better. So I kind of made it a point at a young age to never showcase anything like that, particularly singing, because I had gotten so many people growing up, being 6, 7 years old, loving to sing, loving to be on stage. Even adults would shame me for thinking I was, the best. So I would, I really kept that quiet. And it was DK, because we both had a love of singing. We were ended up just hanging out singing one day, and he was like, you got a voice. And I was like, oh, yeah, I've been in, probably 20 musical theater productions. And he was like, what? It's not something that I used to tell people a lot because I would get made fun of for it and really shamed for it. And I just kept it on the down low. And he sort of said, why aren't you in the talent show? And I was like, listen, this is going to sound very cocky, but I'm already the town council leader. I'm already in every episode. I knew that. I didn't need to. In the back of my mind, my psyche was like, you don't need another reason for them to hate you.
Damn.
Does that make sense? So I really kept it undercover until he forced me to sing.
and thank you, DK, because that was cool. Because when you like at first when DK, if you're watching the show for the first time, he's like, Laurel can sing, and you're like, oh, is this going to be really awkward and shitty, And then you go and you're like, oh, yay, it's so good.
Thank you. Yeah, and Amazing Grace and Happy Birthday were the only songs we could sing.
Oh, I was thinking.
Oh, yeah, because of the royalty. That's so funny. I didn't even think about that.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask if you could sing a bar of Amazing Grace or Happy Birthday. Or
You don't have to if you don't want to.
Right now?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
Yes.
Love it.
You're so talented. And
thank you.
But I also understand, like, isn't that just so fucked up of like 12-year-olds where it's like, my natural, like, beautiful gift that I work hard on, I'm going to get, like, people are going to think I'm a dick because I have that. It's so, it's so traumatizing to be 12.
Woman?
and a woman. And, all that stuff. So I'm glad that you came out on the other side, not fully traumatized from Kid Nation.
So the boys of Kid Nation could not stop you.
Not today.
Totally. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any last remarks for the Kid Nation universe? Anything you got to get off your chest? Want people to know about you or the show or where you're at now?
Not really about me. Anyone can find me on social media. Kind of what you see is what you get. The only thing that I do like to say in these interviews, and you guys didn't ask about this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Anytime I'm on this type of thing, I like to say it. The treatment, in my opinion, of Taylor was extremely unfair.
Ooh.
The producers victimized a 10-year-old girl.
Shit. Okay, actually, that was on my list of questions, but we kind of had that sense, because obviously it's a child, so, how not to say, and of course when we're reviewing the show, in terms of a character, she is made to be this bitchy person, and then that's the funny part when we watch the show where we're like, God, she's being a bitch, and we're like, wait, she's 10.
Yeah.
She's 10. We can't call her a bitch. We can't say that she's being awful. She is 10 years old.
And also she's like clearly being fed, like some of her lines are like not for me.
No.
No?
That's the thing people say, where nobody was fed lines. Nobody was fed lines at all. She was really like that. And again, it's just unfortunate because she, I don't want to get into her personal business, but had to be taken out of school, so bad, and that's the only thing I say. Was I friends with her? No. Would we be friends now? No. She's a Southern Belle sorority girl, not at all my style, but like fierce. But the one thing I will say is she was a 10-year-old girl, and in my opinion, the producers took pride and happiness in like ruining her life. And I know they had to have a villain. But Greg was a 15-year-old boy, and a 15-year-old boy is very different from a 10-year-old girl, and they should have focused on him.
Amen. And we noticed that Taylor dropped off, like, almost like maybe episode 4, 5, maybe 6. Then there's like a silence of Taylor. She's pretty much gone for like 2, 3 episodes, and we were wondering if there was a... Sorry?
Oh, no. I was just, there wasn't a reason. She was honestly like just a nice little girl. She was just 10, and...
Yeah.
Well, even we've had this fight around Taylor and the Yellow Girls, because I think you mentioned like Mean Girls, right? Like they're painted like the Mean Girls, right? And there's an episode where Emily, the chicken lover, wants to like bunk with them, and she's on the blue team, and she's like, I love these girls, and they're like, we want to have a Yellow Girl night, and she's like, but I'm your friend, and they're like, Yellow Girl, and Paul was like, this is like straight up bullying, and I was like, it is, but also 10-year-old girls are so weird about, they're like, well, we've been friends since day one, and we really
48 hours.
Yeah. And we want to have our original crew, so that's like what this is. So that comes, it's interesting. We don't have the language to be adults and say, hey, like, we actually formed this really special bond on day one, so we want to have this close little moment, and we love you, but we want to like have our own private thing. Mm-hmm. That's a thing. So I think it is interesting to see those girl dynamics and be like, oh, they're bitches, or they're this, or they're that, even though they're children. But they're applying these themes like we're older, right? Like you're an older person. But yeah, and then there's Greg, who's been, like you said, married, 3 kids, works with PVC pipes, like the whole...
He knows how to butcher chickens.
Union, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess that was my last. The chickens were a common theme in Kid Nation. How did you feel about the slaughtering of the chick? Did you know you guys were going to do that, or was that...
Not know we were going to do that. But there was a specialist on hand who, the screen is this big, and what people don't realize is like 2 feet away is 1,000 other people, you know what I mean? So we had an animal specialist on hand who pretty much showed us exactly what we had to do. Greg did take over the majority of it because apparently he was a butcher too in his box of whatever skills he has. But yeah, I do now know how to kill a chicken, and we really did kill them. You cut off the head, you de-gut them, you cut off the toes, you pluck them, put them in hot water, disinfect them, and you're ready to go.
I mean, in these trying times, a good skill to have.
It is a good skill to know. But yeah, that was 100% real, but we did have a little bit of help.
Okay, cool. Well, I loved the final notes, because these were things that we've thought and talked about. Because we're watching this show from a pure, like, reactionary place, and having these reactions to these kids like they're adults is something is interesting about the show, but also, like, sad to think of, like, as a society that we can quickly make children these, like, archetypes of adults when you're still forming who you are. You're still forming your identity. You're still learning social skills and how to, like, hopefully not be as much of a brat. Like, we all are brats. Like, that's fine. we only have our bratdom aired on TV for everybody to see, and in extreme conditions, and and on chickens and gumballs and
and you're not going to be probably the nicest looking, smelling, acting for the entire world to see.
Totally.
Especially who looks good at 12? No one. You know what I mean? So I always say it's like the weirdest, most awkward time of my life, broadcast attack.
Oh my god! I mean, I constantly think about how I would be portrayed on Kid Nation,
Oh,
and
I
would be the most hated one by far if my 12-year-old was put on there. Ugh.
You were like 80 pounds too. You were like like a bone man, like just like super tiny. I would just been like a la, like just like singing theater kid, like dork ass. But you know, I know it is weird to think of having this time capsule, but it's pretty cool too. It's a complicated show.
It's definitely a complicated show. I love it in a way because we were so young, like you were saying, you know, everyone was forming their identity and things like that, but also no one was jaded yet.
Yeah.
No one hated the world yet. But we were really like kind of optimistic and authentic in what we thought and what we would say. And I don't know, there's definitely people that, you know, were like you said, you haven't, you know, completely formed yourself. Did this make you uncomfortable for everybody to see? But at the same time, we were really innocent and 12 years old and 10 years old and 9 years old. And it was really authentic, and like I said, we didn't hate the world yet. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what the cool part of like your inner child, right, or being a youth is that like when you're hungry, you cry. When you're mad, you cry. When you you do these like emotional, visceral sort of things, and that as adults we've learned to be like, nope, keep it down, keep it under. When it's actually more pure to just fucking cry and yell at each other.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are in LA. I'm in, you know, New York City. The amount of times I've fully bawled my eyes out on the subway, just no issue.
I mean, quite romantic, honestly, a little bit.
I agree.
Very poetic.
Do you want to, if you want to share, we'll put links in the episode notes, but if you want to be found, where to find you, any updates you want people to know about you?
Social media handles, any of that you'd like to share? If you want.
My Instagram is just my first and last name, Laurel McGoff, McGoff, and then I believe my Twitter is on my Instagram as well, so anyone can find me there. I'll accept everyone, and, you know, I get DMs a lot, so I love talking to fans or people that have watched the show, so whoever wants to talk, come talk.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you hopping on with us, and we'll see you around Bonanza, I guess.
Thank you so much for reaching out. This always, I mean, I'm not Kid Nationed out. It was on, and then it went away for a really long time, and then within the past year, it's revved up again. So,
yeah.
It's been a nice walk down memory lane.
Aww.